Hi there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lynden Hosking, and as always, great to have you along for another episode of Boxing Deep Dive. This is episode number 55. Now, we've got a big show, as always, planned for you. Quick review of last week's events and, of course, what's happening this weekend. And there's always plenty going on, both in Australia and overseas. We're going to welcome in my co-host, Grant Tassie Brown. Now, Tassie, your name obviously is never more relevant because that's where you are at the moment.
Yeah, I'm in Tasmania. I'm actually at my auntie's house. My auntie Cameron, mum's sister, Auntie Cameron, were Rainwater's, and where I was pretty much born and raised in this area. And I'm back here, obviously for business, mate. Got my fight night this Saturday, so I've been here since Tuesday night, and I'll back in my hometown and my place of birth.
So how's it like to get back down to Tassie, mate? Does it ever give you thoughts about maybe going back?
Nah, look, I never thought of moving back. I mean, I'm always going to love Tasmania. I had a great childhood growing up. It was amazing. You know, I've got so many friends and family here. But since I lost my dad's obviously not with us, and mum's in Melbourne with me. It's not really home no more. So Melbourne's my home. But look, I'm always going to love it. I'm always going to fly the Tassie Brown, Tassie Devil flag. And I'll try and get back to boxing as I do. But yeah, it's funny when I come back. You see things open up, like little shops you haven't seen before, or they've got this thing now and that thing, and every now and then there's a little change, and you think, oh yeah, that's a bit different. But yeah, it's Hobart. Hobart's a beautiful place, and I'm blessed to have been born in Tasmania.
All good, mate. Well, we'll have a full preview of your show pretty soon. So what we're going to do tonight, we are live, of course. So if you are out there watching, make sure you give us a like, a comment, a question, whatever you might want to do. And we're going to go through everything. Now, we're going to do, obviously, a lot of you viewers out there watch Talking Boxing as well on Monday. So we'll go over last weekend's events just quickly. Give Tassie a bit of an opportunity to comment on the fights as well, but we'll probably put a bit more time and energy into this weekend's fights as well as the talking points. I've got 5 I want to go through tonight, so we're going to go through them and get some opinions and, of course, your opinions as well out there. So put them in there. We'd love to hear from you guys. Comments been good. Got a little bit of stick lately, I must admit, over a few, dream fights or my top 10s or the greatest Aussie performances. But, hey, that's why we do it. So keep the comments coming.
Mike done the other night. You got a bit of stick, did you?
Yeah, well, look, it was really well received. We got, all great comments. Mike, of course, everyone loves Mike. He, he's got so much so much knowledge in the sport. But the fact neither of us had Costa Zoo in our top 10 performances of all time struck a chord with a couple of people. But, hey, I stand by it, but at the same time, I also fully respect their opinion. The main thing is that Costa, of course, had some great performances. I would have had Costa.
Yeah. See, guys, Mike and Lynden, I'm not going to, they're not huge Costa. You probably are a bit.
I love Costa. I just don't regard him as an Australian legend, that's all. He's a Russian legend who's based here, that's all. I love Costa, don't get me wrong. But my criteria was that...
I'll go through your list with a fine-tooth comb,
and
if I see any other non-Aussie there, then I'm going to be having something to say. And just while we're here, speaking of Aussies or non-Aussies, well, he's an Aussie, but where's our Greek friend Peter?
Well, apparently he's coming back next week. Apparently.
Peter,
so we'll see.
Peter Maniatis, where are you? You're Greek.
He's back. I talked to him last week. He'll be back. So
golden.
When
I think he's been a bit sad because George Gambosis, the Greek Australian, he got beat. So he's a bit sad because George got beat.
All right. Well, let's get on with the show, mate. We've got a lot to get through in the next hour or so. Let's firstly get on to the Aussie news. And as I said, we'll go over last week's events. There were 3 big shows last week. There was the Justice Honey, Kiki Latelli show. There was the Connor Wallace / Taylor Robinson show. And then there was the Mark Hunt and Sonny Bill Williams show. So we'll start with Justice Honey. Scored a 10-round decision over Kiki Latelli, 99-91, 97-93, 98-92. Look, even though, Tassie, the scores were quite wide, it was a tough fight for Justice. Obviously, he had the broken hand and obviously had the appendix issue, or what they thought was an appendix issue, a couple of days later. But it was a tough night for Justice. Wasn't easy.
Yeah, he fought stupid, mate. Listen, whoever's in Justice's ear, keep Justin boxing. Don't. I spoke to Tap Opataya. Joe Opataya's dad's here with me. he's got a fighter down. And we said, why would you want Justice to fight in the pocket when soon as Justice gives some distance, he kills him? So
Yeah.
you keep him boxing, you keep him moving. His attributes, he's fast for a heavyweight. He's got great footwork for a heavyweight. He's quite hard to tag for a heavyweight. And he's got good hand speed punches in combinations. Why are they trying to get him to sit down and punch and all this stuff, mate? Muhammad Ali boxed the same way
Yeah.
most of his career. He hit and move. He didn't try and be a knockout puncher. He wasn't. Justice took too many shots the other night, and against better opposition, he's going to get put to sleep. I'll tell you now. If they keep trying to change Justice's style, he will be knocked out cold by less opposition. I'll tell you now. I wasn't impressed, mate, at all. And even the Gallen fight. Gallen, I don't care. Paul's a great guy. Paul Gallen is not a fighter. He's a footballer. He should not have went 9 rounds. Mate, Justice has all the class, but he took too much punishment against a C-grade, D-grade, C-grade heavyweight. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That Kiwi is nothing special, mate, at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've just got a feeling, I think I might have mentioned on the show on Monday, that I've just got a feeling with Justice, I'm not so much his team, but Justice himself. He obviously reads, hang on, we lost you there. Where are you there? He obviously reads social media and everything else, and this whole thing about not being able to punch. But you're right, Muhammad Ali did it. Usyk does it. And obviously it's shown. He was trying to obviously take him out, but obviously his hands can't withstand him trying to knock these guys out either. So I think I'm with you. I think he's got to stick to his attributes, outbox these guys, and who gives a shit about whether he knocks them out or not?
Mate, he hits them with that many punches, he will be stopping them anyway.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you now, I'm not bagging him, but he's not going to go as far as you all think. He's got hand problems already.
Yeah.
He got hit too much the other night, and one day the power might come into it. But look, at the end of the day, he's got people in his ear. He's getting told all different stuff. And I think, mate, I think they're really going to mess him up, mate, this kid, and I wish him the best. But, I mean, the other night, he got hit too much and I think they're trying to move him too quick.
Yeah.
I mean, why's the rush now for these fighters? Like, they're trying to move Huni fast. They want this other kid that's with No Limit. He wants to be that bloody, whatever his name is. Mate, what's the rush, mate? I'll tell you now. I'm going to tell you, Lynden, something. I know this sport back to front as you do. Be careful what you wish for because you might move too fast and you're actually not up to it.
Yeah, well, hey, the greatest example of all, back a few years back, Lomachenko, one of the greatest amateurs of all time, thought he could win a world title, in his second pro fight, and got beat. Controversial that it was, but he still got beat. So, brings us to our first talking point, though, Tassie. This is probably, it's an interesting one. Is Justice Huni the best heavyweight in Australia? Now, afterwards, it was surprising to see that he actually mentioned Dempsey McKeon and pretty much said that he was the number 1 heavyweight in Australia. And even Lucas Brown, even though it happened with Paul Gallen's probably got to have some sort of claim to being in there. So, what do you think?
I think Huni is the best heavyweight in Australia. I think Dempsey McKeon definitely didn't impress me.
No.
His last few fights, and he was lucky to get away with the guy that Huni beat. So, I think he's been fed and managed quite well, which credit to his team, which, good friends of his team. But Huni is the best heavyweight in Australia, no doubt. But in saying that, is that a big deal, being the best heavyweight in Australia? Because, mate, none of these guys are going to win world titles. I don't care. I'm not a hater. I talk it straight. Huni, McKeon, they're not winning world titles. I'm not putting them down. I just don't think they're up to it, mate.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's your opinion. I think the other thing you just said before too, it's a good point. He's 23 years of age, and they're talking about putting him in for a world title in the next sort of 12 months or 18 months, whatever it might be. I just don't see the rush. He's 23 years old.
Is your mate Dean a bit strapped for cash? Is he in a hurry?
Who
knows? I don't know, mate, because, I mean, like, what is the rush with all these guys, mate?
I agree. Yeah.
I don't understand, mate. So, yeah, look, it's, I mean, Joel Pataya, he turned pro after the Olympics.
Well, he wasn't rushed.
He wasn't rushed, And I mean,
when he got the opportunity to fight for it, he won it.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're going to ruin Huni. I'll tell you now, they're going to ruin him.
Yeah,
I tell you,
well,
he's going to probably get knocked out in his next probably 6 fights.
well, he's out for probably 3 to 6 months, so which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, I hope they just put the brakes on, tap the brakes a little bit, and let's wait even a couple of years. He'll only be 25 years old, which is still young for a heavyweight. So I'm with you. I don't understand it. The other show on the weekend was the Tasman Fighters show. It was well, I put Connor Wallace up first. He was the co-main
Yeah,
event.
good.
He had a pretty
We
tough
predict.
night against Letty. Obviously, he'd been beaten by Letty. It was his sole loss a couple of years ago, I think it was. It was a great fight. I'm not sure whether you watched it, but through the stream that we had, it was a really good fight, and he toughed it out and got him out of there in the sixth round.
Yeah, no, I predicted Connor to win this one.
Yeah.
Happy for him, and it showed a lot of backbone to come back and stop the guy that beat him. When you watch it, but no, Connor's good, mate. I got a lot of time for the Steve Della team
Yeah.
and our other friend there as well.
Luke Melton.
Lukey Milton.
Yeah.
They're a good team and they're good boxing people. And so happy for Connor. And yeah, what I predicted. I predicted him to turn the tables this time.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And it was a tough fight. I think he got put down in the third round, and he was in trouble. He was behind on all three cards at the time, even though it was only the sixth round, but
Wow.
pulled
I
it
didn't
out
know that.
as good fighters do. Just a quick one, guys, before we move on. On the last talking point, if you've got a comment there, what do you guys think? Is Justice Hoodie the best heavyweight in Australia? So put your comments in there. Is it Connor? Is it Justice? Is it Dempsey? Is it Lucas Brown? Is it Willis Meehan? I don't know. Put it in there. Who do you guys think? So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Connor Wallace now. He should be rated quite high with all the sanctioning bodies now. I think he was in the top 15 of a couple of them before this, so this should get him up there. And, he's probably been around, had enough fights. Now they probably start to step him up a bit.
Yeah, no, mate. He's he had a good amateur career. He's a big guy, and mate, look, he's always in the gym. He's got a lot to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the same card, this is an interesting one. Taylor Robinson, a controversial 10-round win over Shayos Manoa. Now, the official scorecards were 96-94, 98-92, and 97-93. Now, my own personal opinion is, I said this on Monday night, I thought Manoa was a comfortable winner. I gave Taylor most of the close rounds. I still had Manoa winning by a couple of points. But look,
Really?
I'm going to put the talking point up a little bit about it. I'm not sure whether he's... Sorry, Tassie?
You don't think she won it?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
I never watched it. I've only seen people.
No, I
post.
thought she was comprehensively beaten. And I think if you look at social media, that you can always tell by social media. You don't go by social media, but there wasn't many people that thought she won the fight. I would say 95% of people thought she lost. And I was one of them. I thought she was out-hustled, out-punched, out-boxed the whole night. So,
Bad.
but look, before I get on to the talking point, a comment from Shane. Thank you. We know someone's out there watching. Lots of grit to get the stoppage when well behind in the card. That's obviously Connor Wallace. And you're right, Shane. It was a really good comeback by Connor. And great guy, great team. And I'm sure he'll go into some bigger things. Who is James? Hooney and McKean on Paradise. I was going to say par or parody, whatever you want to call it, but Hooney has more development in future. Yeah, what do you reckon, Tassie? I think Hooney's definitely got more upside. Definitely.
Mate, no disrespect to Dennis McKean, but I mean Hooney's got all the class and skills, and he was a great amateur, one of the best amateurs we had. And I predict if he would have, and this is what I'm pissed off about, and I'll say it again, whoever's looking after him, whether it's his dad or whoever else, should not have let him fought Gallant. He should have went to the Olympic Games, which is every young boxer's dream, which was Justice's dream, where he was an actual favourite to medal. He got a bronze at the World Championships and got injured and pulled out of the final. He had lost to the gold medalist, the big Uzbekistan, but Justice was as good as anyone there. Justice was a good draw, would have made the final and got a medal. I tell you now, they gave it up to fight Gallant. No disrespect to Gower, the fight didn't mean shit. No one cared. No one's going to talk about that fight in years to come. No one gives a fuck. So they ruined Justice's Olympic dream.
Yep.
And now, but in saying that, his class is above all the other Aussies.
Yep.
Willis mean if he's dedicated and gets on a roll, can give everyone a hard night. He can
Yeah.
punch, but Justin Hooney is way better than Dempsey McKean, and I think that he'll have the better career.
Yeah, and on the Huni thing, I must admit, I 100% agree as far as the Olympics go. I cannot believe at
Stupid.
23 years of age, they didn't say, who cares about the Gallen fight? I know there's some good bucks that'll get your profile up. This is the Olympic Games, and getting a medal and possibly a gold medal, what that would have done for his career far outweighs the Paul Gallen win, if you ask me. I can't fathom it at that young. If he was 29 or 30, whatever. But at 23 years of age, I don't get it.
Possibly is up there, Lynden. You talk
Sorry?
about doing your lists and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Possibly one of the worst boxing decisions
We should do that.
in Australian history.
The worst.
Pretty much as bad as Keith Ellis letting Lester fight Barry.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to put it on the list. Might do it on Talking Box on Monday night. We'll get you on and we'll have a chat about it. That's not a bad idea. The worst decisions ever in boxing. Mike could be a good one to have on for that because he'd probably got a list as well. So,
Mike's got too much time on his hands.
He does. All right, talking point number 2. It relates to this. Now, you guys out there, give us your comments. Do you think Taylor Robinson won or not? As I said, I had it 96-94 for Manoa, and that was being kind to Robinson, I thought. And brings us to my next point. Let me just have my say first, Tassie, then you can have your say. And I know you've got to be a little bit careful. You've got an event this weekend. Aussie refereeing and judging needs a review. Now, let me just have a comment first. Now, there's been some issues lately. There's been some issues with the refereeing. There's obviously the Hodges thing and Gallen. That's only one. There's been some controversies about referees maybe haven't done a good job in the fights. The judging last weekend, my opinion is no, I don't think it needs a review. I think maybe like in all events, I'm sure they get feedback on their performances. Maybe they review the fight themselves. I would hope they would anyway. So, but as far as the judging goes, I'm sure you'll agree here, Tassie. It's not just Australia. Every single country in the world has the home cooking at some stage, and it's just a fact of life, and it's always going to be there. And I don't think we're any different to any other country in the world.
No, of course not. I mean, boxing has always been bad decisions and bad officiating all over the world, mate. So, yeah.
Okay, Shane, that's good. Your opinion, that's fine.
What's that?
Shane just said he said he thought Taylor did enough. That's cool.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I haven't watched it, so I won't comment.
Yeah.
But, mate, like you said, Lynden, you've always had bad decisions in boxing. You've always going to have. And look, most of the time, it's usually guys that haven't fought that are judges. And I mean, and they've got no idea, mate. They don't know a left hook, a fish hook, and until they get more ex-fighters that know the fight game on the panel, I mean, you're always going to get these bad decisions because how are you going to score a fight if you don't know what you're on about?
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough gig, and it's always been there and always will be. I don't agree with it, but that's life. Jackie Dilks is in the conversation. He's come out swinging. Olympics mean shit all now, and it's so sad. Well, not quite yet, Jack. I mean, they're talking about 2028. It's out, but at the moment it's still relevant. But you're right, mate. It's unfortunate that the Olympic Committee don't see it that way because boxing's looking to be out.
That's the first time I've heard Jack swear. The first time I've heard Jack Dill swear.
Yeah, I know. He's always a good boy. He's young Jackie.
Hang around St Kilda Footy Club, mate. they're bad influence on you, Jackie boy.
Yeah, they are. But look, it's just our opinion, guys. In my opinion, I think the refereeing, like in all sports, they need feedback on their performances and maybe what they need to do better. But the judging, it's just a human nature sometimes to watch the home fighter, favour the cheers and everything else, and it's just the way of life. On to the next one. Mark Hunt turns back the clock. We've just got to rush through this before Tassie falls asleep here. With a fourth round stoppage of Sonny Bill Williams. Not sure whether you've seen the highlights of that, but Mark Hunt, you could see he turned up in shape, got the job done, and this is what happens when when you're not really boxing, you pretend to be one.
Yeah, surprised me, mate. I naturally thought Sonny Bill, after his win against Barry Hall, would be too too young and too athletic. And Sonny Bill's got some skills, but Mark Hunt obviously trained with David Tour, come out like David Tour, and obviously I think this was an upset. Happy like happy for Mark Hunt, but sad for Sonny Bill. Sonny Bill's very close to my dear friend Anthony Mundine, so I'm sorry for Sonny and because of that, because of Chalk. But yeah, man, it was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't watch it, but when I saw the Facebook status, that I thought, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't watch it live. I was watching the Tasman Fighters card, but I watched the highlights later or whatever it was in 4 rounds, and yeah, it was a good fight. On to and that'll probably be it for Sonny Bill, I would think. Hang on, what we've got a comment there from Shane. Comes in trying to get more ex-fighters involved in judging, I reckon. Yeah, that'd help, Shane. Whether it happens or not, there's no push for it. I've talked about it on this show before. As former Olympian myself, I've never been approached about being involved in any capacity, really, officiating or I got involved in the coaching for a little while, but never really officiating or referee judging or being on committees or whatever. But I know there's lots of ex-good fighters around. Maybe they need to have a bit more of a push.
We're
What's that?
We're too lazy. We're too lazy.
I would do it. I'm a big believer in don't throw stones, as they say at Glasshouse, if you're not prepared to go and do it yourself. So if it ever was an opportunity and I was asked to help, of course I'd help. I want to give back to the sport. I'm sure there'll be many others that would as well.
Yeah, mate. Lynden, you're back to the sport, mate, in many ways.
Well, we've got a YouTube show. That's probably about the extent of it at the moment. All right, on to a big weekend. The fights this weekend. It all starts in Tasmania. Return to glory this Saturday night in Tasmania. All right, Tassie, the floor is yours. What's happening? Tell us about the main event and the undercard. And the streaming times.
No stress. You're cheeky boy. No streaming because I want everyone to attend and buy a ticket and drink. So anyone on the mainland, I'm sorry, can't watch it because I'm about people being in Hobart and watching the fight, not sitting at home streaming it. So sorry, guys. We all know that to do these shows for us smaller promoters, you got to sell tickets, you got to sell beer. So, mate, look, it's a huge night. In my car. Huge night. Bo Belbin, his hardest fight in his first main event for the AMBF Australasian Super Waterweight title and also the state title versus Jaden Riddle. 8 rounds, 50-50 fight. Jaden was pretty confident at the press conference today, talking how he liked stoppage. Bo was his humble self, but it's a tough fight, and I train and manage Bo, and I really hope that that he's on Saturday night because Riddle has given Jason Malia and Joel Roberts 2 very tough fights. So it's a great main event, and if Bo wins, we've already pretty much again been guaranteed Nikita Zoo next year. So
nice. So plenty at stake in the undercard.
Alex Simon, the strongest man in Australia, the strongest powerlifter, 160 kilo mammoth. Is fighting a very tough Avun, his name is, from New Zealand, based in Gold Coast, ex-kickboxer. They both had a bit of MMA, both not traditional boxers, but one's 140 kilo, one's 160 kilo. So something's going to give, and I hope the ring doesn't collapse. But should be a good fight. Stewie Dare versus Johnny Brown has been meaning to happen for a while. It's meant to happen on my last show, and Johnny tore his bicep. One's from Risnaval, one's from Clarenaval. If you're not from Tasmania, you don't really know what that means, but it's 2 rival suburbs. It's a big fight, and that should be a great war. Bo Woods, a very exciting Tasmanian fighter who's in Queensland with Tap Opatea. So he's up there in a great camp. He's excited, 2-0, and I think he'll be 3-0 against a very tough New South Wales Welshman. And then 10 amateur fights. So we lost to Joe Corner downhill fight because Joe's injured. But it's it's a 14-bout card. Hobart, Tasmania, doors open at 5 o'clock. First amateur fight, 6:30. Benji Birchall's on the show, Dave Birchall's youngest son. And, or middle son actually. And yeah, mate, it's my 18th show, Lynden, and I'm proud to be again putting boxing back on in Tassie. We've got Daniel Gill's a guest as well. He's
I
got
saw
amateur
that.
boys,
Wayne
and we've
Carey.
got Wayne Carey, the King, is back as well. So he's been there before. So if you're watching this, if you're from Tassie, get your tickets. Don't miss out. This is a big night of boxing.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. Yeah, so as Tassie said, if you're in Tasmania, get your tickets, get down and watch it. Don't be sending us messages about live streams because there's no live stream. So blame the promoter there for that. I'm sure someone will have an iPhone or something like that, Tassie. Come on.
Yeah,
I'm going
not
to text
sure.
Bo's missus and ask her to put it on her iPhone, if that's all right.
Yeah, nah.
She won't get kicked out of the venue, hopefully. She's the main event's missus. But anyway, all
There
right.
you go.
So get tickets to that one. Some interesting news that I'm going to take full credit for our show, of course. Jeff Fenech awarded a fourth world title from the WBC after they reviewed the fight. So it was actually at the WBC convention. Obviously knew what was going on. I think he said there was 20 or 30 Aussies went over there with him. He went up there. I thought it was funny that Julio Cesar Chavez joked that he couldn't get the belt around his waist. Which was quite funny. But look, it's an unusual thing to happen, but it's a little bit of closure for Jeff anyway.
Yeah, very happy for him. I messaged him on Tuesday night when I saw it, and he replied, "Thank you." And mate, Roberto Duran and Julio Cesar Chavez, Mikhail Cotto, legends were there, and that's the kind of, if you haven't been to America with Jeff, you don't really know how well regarded
Yeah.
by the who's who of the, like, yes, he's known as Australia's greatest fighter, respected in Australia, but when you got Mike Tyson, Chavez, Duran, Hearns, Leonard, Hagler when he was alive, all all praising Jeff Fenech, it shows how really special it is, because when you're known in America, that outshines everything else. So Jeff deserved this belt. We all know he won that fight against Nelson. I'm shocked that they've actually done it. But I don't think it changes on box track, though, Lynden.
No, well, that's the next talking point I was going to bring
So
up here. The Jeff
that's
Fenech review, what does it actually achieve? So what's actually
yeah,
happened is, guys, and James has got a good question there. Do they take Nelson's belt away from him? Right, so to put it in context, this doesn't change the result. The WBC have no authority to overturn a result. So the result stands. All it is, it's a gesture from the WBC to say, in our eyes, you're a four-time world champion. He's not technically a four-time world champion. The result hasn't been overturned. He hasn't been given Nelson's belt. It's a WBC. It's an honorary review of it to say, hey, we think you won. So in our eyes, you are the WBC super featherweight champion. And a quick one, Tassie. Do you see it as a little bit almost disrespectful to Azuma Nelson? He's just as big a name as what Jeff Fenech is with the WBC. He's won, 3 or 4 different titles with the WBC. Do you see that as a bit of a slight to him, or a bit of both? I don't know. I mean, I've just sort of thought of that as I'm explaining that you talked, James, about taking away Nelson's belt is a bit of an insult to Azuma Nelson, while at the same time being obviously a compliment to Jeff Fenech.
yeah, mate. I mean, I guess it probably is to Zuma, but I mean, we don't care. We're happy Jeff got
No,
it. But I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, look, I mean, I guess it would be. I mean, especially if they don't overturn the decision. But as I said, we don't know what would have happened if Jeff would have got the decision, because it broke Jeff's heart. He was never the same.
He wasn't.
Rematch, Calvin Grove. I mean, we don't know if he would have got his decision and not what he deserves. We don't know what could have happened to Jeff Fenech, but I mean, it broke his heart, mate. And I've had lengthy conversations with him. He was never the same after it. So yes, they've given it to him now, but if they rightfully gave him the decision back them years ago, was it 92, Lynden?
91.
91, then Jeff's career could have been very different.
Yeah, I agree. And boxing there, that's exactly. It was a good gesture. That's really all it was. It was a gesture because as I said, the sanctioning bodies have no power at all to overturn a decision. It has to come from the combat authority over there. So it is a gesture. Look, it's a great thing for Jeff. I think it's a little bit of peace of mind for him. Obviously, it doesn't take away the fact he's not officially the 4-time champion. I think he's a little bit of closure to have it recognised, to be universally accepted that he won the fight from his peers, to be presented like that. So I think that's a small bit of peace of mind for him. And James, you're right, mate. Compliments Jeff's legacy. It certainly does. And I think, and you know Jeff really well, Tassie, that would have just grinded on him for the last 30 years. And even though it doesn't give him the belt officially, a little bit of peace of mind is better than nothing.
100%. Yeah, look, I do know Jeff, and I mean, even though he brushes it off when you talk about it,
Yeah,
mate,
it's got to hurt.
100%. It would have been the main focus of his life, mate. He never got over it, mate. And I mean, it was he going to be the first undefeated 4-division world champion if he would have won it? Hearns was the first. Thomas Hearns was the first 4-division world champion.
But Jeff would have been the first undefeated.
That's correct, is it, Lynden?
Yep, 100%. Yeah, would have been the first undefeated.
Geez, I know a lot about boxing, don't I?
Oh, you do, mate. Yep, you're right. But
look, scary how much I know about boxing.
And look, Jack, you've made a good point here, but I'm not that worried about it. You say slippery slope, could it lead to all governing bodies doing similar decisions? Yeah, look, they could probably review a lot. But at the end of the day, it doesn't officially change anything. So I don't see the harm in reviewing 100 fights over the course of history. It really doesn't matter, if you ask me, because it hasn't officially changed the result. It's just a gesture to say, you're a man, you're ripped off. In our eyes, you won the fight. And that's really about it. So, but as I think it was James said there, it was just great for Jeff's Tassie there. Yep, great for his legacy. So it's a small little thing for Jeff, and we did actually start the movement, Tassie, about 6 months ago when we had him on Classic Fights. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. And we actually had him on talking about the fight, and we actually started the movement then about, hey, how about we start, to get the ball rolling as far as getting you crowned. So we're taking credit for it anyway, Tassie.
No, we did, mate. 100% with you. That was we did have some part in it, I guess.
That's what we'll keep telling ourselves anyway. All right, on to this weekend. The big one, Stevie Spark, Montana Love, in Cleveland, Ohio. This is a big chance for Stevie Spark. He's up against an undefeated fighter. 18-0 is Montana Love. Stevie Spark's 15-2, of course. He went up 2 divisions to fight Tim Zhu, of course, a year or two ago. But, it should be a big test for Steve. And again, like Jason Waitley, you've got to give him full credit for going to the other side of the world and putting it all on the line.
Yeah, mate. Big fight going to the guys' backyard. Montana Love's a very highly regarded fighter in America. So he's in the lion's den, so to speak. He's got a big challenge, mate. But, credit to Stevie for being the warrior he is and going over there with Brendan Smith. And, I wish them all the best, and I hope they can bring back the W.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one. Just while I was talking there, we've got D-Style Boxing in the house. How's it going, brother? How are you, mate? Great to... this is the YouTube show I was on a few weeks back. Great show. Love the concept. Pretty similar to ours, but they have a few more people on there. And so if you haven't checked it out, everyone watching at the moment, make sure that you do. D-Style Boxing. They're on, I think, a few times a week, a bit like ourselves. And they know their stuff. That's what I will say. And so all the best to you guys on D-Style Boxing on the round table, I think it's called. So... all the best there. Boxing learner, Stevie Spark can win. Yeah, of course he can win. You're in there with another guy, you're throwing hands. Of course you can win. And he's gone over there. And I think, Tassie, it's another classic example for me that Montana Love, I think he's obviously got to be the favourite. But it's another case of course, just got a feeling that he hasn't rated Stevie Spark at all. And he could pay the price.
Yeah, well, mate, if he hasn't prepared properly for him, mate, he'll get a shock, mate. So, mate, look, as I said, you got to be in it to win it, and he's over there, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yep, it should be good. Good stuff. So, again, shout out to D-Style. Big test, but he's not without a decent chance. Yep, exactly. Let's keep moving on there, guys. It is on DAZN on Sunday. It might be about mid-morning on the 11 or 12, I think it starts. Just check your local times with the daylight savings and stuff. I think it's on 11 o'clock Eastern time, so Melbourne time or New South Wales time might be a bit different up in Queensland and obviously over in Western Australia. So check your DAZN schedule. Another quick one I want to just mention, Tassie, we're 4 weeks away. The countdown is on. Bridges O'Connell. Now, I'll just take that off there. 4 weeks to go now. I spoke to Shannon today. She's off in 2 weeks. So she's going to be based in Manchester. The fight's, of course, in Leeds. Now, they did actually a virtual face-off last night that she said. I won't go into too much what was said, of course. I'll save that for when they release it. But got a little bit heated, she said. But it was just herself, Ebony, and Eddie Hearn were on there. And she said it was a nice, let's say, a heated conversation. So I'm sure it'll be out in the next few days. They'll release it on Eddie Hearn and No Limit will probably release it together. So, yeah, it's coming around pretty quick.
Does Ebony have clothes on, or?
Well, yeah, well, again, I won't go into all that. I'm sure that was brought up by Shannon. But look, Shannon did say, and look, I've discussed this with her as well, about be professional, leave all that shit to the other side, and whatever they want to get up to, you're there for a job, and hopefully she can get it done. D-Star, what is it there? It's 2 a.m. Jeez, listening while I'm working. Jeez, 2 a.m. I'm assuming you're on the eastern side, I would imagine. But great to have you on board, mate. Really appreciate it. James Daly, good photo face to face. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting when they actually do get face to face. It's one thing to be on the other side of the world and the virtual sort of stuff goes, but when they're actually there, and I've got a feeling, knowing Shannon, she's behaving herself at the moment, but when they get face to face, you'll see the the animal in her start to come out. And Ebony, of course, can hold her own in that department. So yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, mate, it's got a bit of mayo in this fight. It's very interesting, mate, and the fact that it's over there in Leeds and Eddie Hearn and yeah, mate. Look, it's big. It's a big fight, and it's a tough one. It's a very tough one for both girls, and I think it's a very even fight. The fact that it's over there.
I still can't believe we've got two Aussie girls fighting for a world title in England, but it is what it is. Look, at the end of the day, they're both getting very well paid, so that's really good. Probably both getting career best paydays, so that can only be a good thing. And you've got to get up at 5 in the morning or so. But boxing, another American there. Thanks for joining there. 3:22. So you're in Texas, so that's what's that, Middle America, I'm assuming. I know you guys are all in the midst of all your elections and all that over there. We're not going to get started on that, by the way, but I know there's a fair bit going on around the traps at the moment.
Started, Lynden.
Yeah, well, let's move on before we get into trouble. But yeah, so Bridges O'Connell, 4 weeks to go. Can't wait. Shannon's in a really good space. She said she's training really well, and we're going to have her on Talking Boxing on Monday night for a chat. I'd probably reach out to Ebony for a bit of a chat at some stage, but I reckon she's not real happy with us after she thinks you railroaded her in Vegas.
She doesn't like it. She really doesn't like you, Lynden.
She doesn't like you. You're the one that interviewed her. You're representing the enemy apparently. So yeah, she wasn't overly impressed.
She gave me the interview.
Yeah, but then she found out you're representing Australian Boxing Central, so she wasn't happy. But anyway, I thought you did it. It was a great job with the interview. I thought you spoke really well, asked good questions. She spoke really well, so I don't know what she's worried about. But anyway, she sent me a message saying she wasn't impressed. And I said, well, stiff shit. So anyway, let's move on. Can't wait for the fight anyway. So that'll be on DAZN. On the weekend just gone as well, Dimitri Bivol, really impressed with Dimitri Bivol, scored a unanimous decision over Gilberto Ramirez. The scores are 118, 110 and 117, 111 times 2. Really good performance, Tassie, and also brings me to my talking point number 4. Is he now in the top 5 pound for pound?
Don't know about top 5. I wouldn't say top 5, but he's up there. He's in the top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think so as well. And Boxing is just getting back to the Shannon and Ebony fight. Fight is very good, 50-50. If not,
he'd have to unify a belt or something to become or pound for pound or win another division. I know he beat Canelo, but look, if he beats Beterbiev, then he's pound for pound top fucking 3 probably.
Yeah.
Mate, I'll tell you now though, Lynden, Bivol, after seeing that, Bivol beats Canelo now.
Beats him easier, I would have thought.
He does. Yeah, Canelo hasn't got the style to fight He's not busy enough, and Bivol punches in bunches, moves when he wants. He's bigger, and he's got that good boxing background. And I think, yeah, Canelo wants to stay away from him.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Look, I myself, I agree. I wouldn't have him in the top five. I know there's been talk on some of the sites and some of the publications as far as him being even number one, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I think as good as he was, I'm not sure. What do you guys think out there? If you want to comment, I'm not quite sure that he's the top five. You could definitely make a case for top 10 now, like a Devin Haney. But then who goes out? So that's probably the next question as well. So. But yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll see. Shane's a comment there. Glad you said that. This is about the girls. I think Bridges is a lot tougher than us. Shannon's fan. Yeah, no, I've said that before, Shane. I agree. And Shannon does as well. I know there's been a lot of talk about that Shannon's going to smash her and she's a novice. But hey, Shannon's under no illusions that this is going to be a tough fight. Champions don't give up the belts easily. And even though Ebony's only had about 8 fights or whatever now, she's in her, well, we'll call it her hometown. She's gonna come to fight, and I think I'm expecting a rip roaring fight. I'm expecting a close fight. I still think Shannon gets the win, but I think it's going to be a tough night for the girls. What do you think, Tassie?
Yeah, mate. Like I said, mate, it's when it was made first. Yeah, we all thought Shannon would probably just walk through her. As it gets closer, Ebony is very much in the fight and having the fact that it's over there, Eddie Hearn with her and all her, mate. It's bloody. It's a lot tougher than what people think.
Yeah, and as I said, Shannon's under no illusions that hey, it's a world title fight. They don't just hand them out. Well, actually, sometimes they do, but not on this occasion. Ebony's not going to give up that belt without a fight, or a massive fight in her, and I think it's going to be an absolute war. So, one more talking point before we get out of here, guys. This one, Tassie. It's off point of everything we've talked about tonight, but I want your opinion. It's time for fans to forgive Michael Zarafa. Now, I'll just set the scene. You did a podcast this week with Ben Dame, and I have seen or heard parts of it. He talked about the fallout from the Tim Tszyu when he pulled out of that fight. His team misled him, he said. He's had changes of trainers and everything else. The Dwight Ritchie thing as well was around the same time, of course, where Dwight Ritchie tragically passed away while they were sparring. It's been a tough time for Michael Zarafa. You can see he's tried to make amends with no limit to try and sort of get things sort of back on track. But is it time? You just got to look at the comments on social media about him. They were not forgiving. That's what I will say. But do you think it's time for boxing fans to move on, or that's just not in our nature?
Mate, I think I don't think any fan, especially on social media, have the right to criticise any fighter. I don't think any fight. I don't
But it's
think
personal
anyone,
now. It's personal. It's not about his boxing skills. It's personal.
I don't think anyone should comment on a fighter unless you've been a fighter. But I mean,
Yeah.
look, I've had to put up with a lot of shit through how close I'm now to Mundine. Now,
Yeah.
people start to see the real Mundine now. What a beautiful, beautiful human he is. How much charity work he does. How much he gives his time to troubled kids and Indigenous kids, and so. But I've had fights with people, full blown fights where they've mouthed about Anthony back in the day, and I've attacked them, and now, I mean, obviously he's rough as competent now. I mean, look, I know Michael's rough. He's a lovely guy. You know, sometimes it's not bad to be the villain because you get more notoriety. But I think people should just sort of stay in their lane, support him or don't support him. But as for the threats and the bagging out, they should just let it be.
Yeah, and that's probably what I'm getting at is that it's okay to say he's a shit fighter or you don't rate him or whatever. That's you're right.
Well,
Everyone has their own opinions of fighters, but when you're actually when you're actually targeting him personally, I just think that's probably going overboard, especially in this day and age of mental health and all that sort of stuff. But mainly, look, and you said yourself, Taz, and I've met, obviously, and promoted Michael a few times, that he's a really, really lovely guy. I think initially he probably liked playing the villain. I think he actually, with the Tim Tszyu thing, I think he actually liked getting people rolled up. But when it went a bit south, I just think people went a bit overboard. And what's it been, a year or whatever it's been now, and the guy's been through a lot, and he's possibly got the Triple G fight on the horizon. It'd just be good to get a little bit more support behind him if he does get that world title fight. And I will be the first to admit, there's been a bit of it that has been self-inflicted, where, as I said, he has played the villain. But, as I said, when it gets personal, I think it's just time to lay off. I don't know. What do you guys think out there? Shane, you've obviously had your say there. And Andy's in the house there. How are you, Andy? So, Tassie, final say there, mate. So, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, 100%. I mean, don't, these tough guys on Facebook or these people, writing things or sending threats, you're a joke. I mean, look, don't say anything to anyone that you wouldn't say to their face, Lynden.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that a lot of these guys would say it to Michael's face. So if you don't say it to his face, don't write it. I mean, I was disappointed when he pulled out of the Tim Tszyu fight because I love, obviously, but there's obviously reasons behind it. But it doesn't matter anyway. He hasn't killed anyone. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And you should just let it be, mate. But look, don't worry about the social medias. It's not important, mate. Half the blokes get on there don't know enough about boxing, so he shouldn't take it too personally. Yeah. And like you said, Lynden, be careful what you wish for. You want to play the bad guy, you got to play it 24 hours a day. So you got to be. But they should just back off and leave him alone. And he's one of Australia's best fighters, mate. So just enjoy him or don't enjoy him. It's up to you, but don't bag him.
And I think, and Jax has put up there, no Michael on somewhat of a personal level. There was always going to be something more to him pulling out. And I said last week, under no circumstances would he pull out because he was scared. Fighters like him aren't scared. They make business decisions, but they aren't scared. He feeds off it, but I think the line was crossed for sure. And I think a classic example of that in Boxing Learner would like to see Michael become champion at least once. Yeah, it would be good, mate. But it was showed in the top 50 they did on the Herald Sun on the weekend or last week, whatever it was, where the rider had him at number 6 pound for pound. Now I had him at number 7 or 8 or whatever it was. The rider had him at number 6, and that's fine. The people were allowed to vote. He went back to number 36. Now that's not based on boxing knowledge. That's just out and out spite. That's all that is. So to put him back to 36 is just ridiculous. In Australia. The rider had him at number 6, I think it was, and the readers put him back to number 36 in Australia. What do we got there, Shane? I can't cop the nasty shit, but I reckon it's okay for non-fighters to have a decent voice if they buy tickets and pay-per-view they can express themselves. Yeah, and that's what I was saying, mate. It's okay to have your opinion. Your fans. It's like us as footy fans, whatever. We've got our opinions, but I just think when it crosses a line for the personal side of things, I just think there's that is crossing the line.
But don't mouth about a fighter or call him a name or judge him on something. If you haven't been in the ring and been punched in the face yourself at the level these guys are at, then definitely don't go slandering their name and saying, oh, he's a dog, he quit, or he done this. Because at least these guys are in the ring doing it, mate. So, I know we need fans in boxing, but it doesn't give you the right to slander.
Yeah.
If you haven't been punched in the face for a living, then you actually should shut your mouth. That's
I think as far as I'm with fans out there, it's like anything. You just don't have to know, not have been an elite fighter to sort of know about boxing, but but when people question fighters' hearts or courage or whatever it might be, that's definitely crossing the line, because as fighters we know what it takes to get in there, whether you're a 4-round club fighter or a world champion. It takes a hell of a lot of guts to get in there, and that's probably why you probably see people like us get all bent out of shape about it, because we know what it takes to get in there, even though it wasn't at that sort of level. So have your opinions, but I just think when you cross the line as far as courage and heart and all the rest of it, I just think you can say that you don't rate his left jab, but I just think there's a time and place for a few different things. So Tassie, I'm going to let you go, mate. You look like you're buggered there. I'm going to let you head off and get organised for your show. Best of luck. I'm going to hang around here, guys. If you guys have got any more questions for me, I'll hang around for a little bit longer and have a bit of a chat about whatever you want to chat about. But in the meantime, Tassie, thanks for tuning in, mate, and we'll have a full review of your show next week.
No, thanks, Lynden. Thanks for always the support you give me. I appreciate it. And and you know what it's like to be in the position I'm in now because you've done many shows
Yep.
at a high level. So yeah, I'm a bit exhausted, and I've got the weigh in tomorrow, and this venue set up tomorrow, and airport pickups tomorrow, but anyway, look, this is what I choose to do. I love it. I love boxing. I love Tasmania.
Yep.
So I'm happy to do my 8am show this Saturday.
Yep. All the best, mate. All right, we'll talk to you next week, and can't wait to hear all about it because we won't be able to watch it, so I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, no, there's no stream, guys, just so you know.
See you, mate.
See you guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, that was Grant Tassie Brown. So if you guys have got anything you might want to elaborate on there, just let me know. On that show, and yeah, as I said, I do agree. Tassie probably has a different way of articulating it, but I do agree that, you don't have to be an elite fighter or being an elite fighter to have an opinion on the way people fight or whatever it might be. But as I said, I just think the line gets crossed when things are questioned by fighters when, just by simply getting in there, takes a hell of a lot of balls to get in there, whether it's an amateur or professional, whatever it might be. And as I said, we tend to get a little bit offended when, people out there that, the ones I'm talking about that never done boxing or probably, sitting on the couch having a beer and eating chips and saying, this guy's, not doing this or doing that. So it's a little bit different to footy or something like that, I reckon, with boxing, because even though it takes an element of courage and heart to get out on a footy field, it's nothing like a boxing fight. So if you guys got anything you want to discuss, let me know. I think we've gone over everything as far as, obviously went over everything with talking boxing on Monday, and then we double dipped on Tuesday night with Mike Altamura. You got anything to say about Mike's show? I know, was it you, James? I think it was. I think you might have commented on the YouTube page about what was it? The Costa Zoo. I think that was you. And mate, full respect to you with your opinion. I don't disagree. I have a different opinion, and Mike has a different opinion, and Tassie has a different opinion. But that's what they are, just opinions, and we all love Tim. Costa. I'm just looking at your comment here. One more week until Tim Zoo's grand entrance into America. Is that right? I didn't know that. So only one more week. I know he's in Thailand at the moment. And then he's obviously heading off. I know he wants a really good camp over there. So what would that make it? That would make it about 8 to 9 week camp? I think that'd be, or maybe even 10 weeks it might be. So I knew they were going to try and get a couple of months in over there. I'm going to actually head over there a week and a half before the fight. I think so. The fight's on the 28th. I think I'm going to go. So it'll be the 20th. I think it was about the 17th. I think it is. So I'm going to try and get over there and try and get some footage and see Tim put the last bit of obviously the icing on the cake for his training camp. Try and get some footage. Maybe get some. Might necessarily bug him as far as interviews and all that sort of stuff goes. I know everyone will be over there wanting a piece of him, but I might just see if I can get some footage and obviously talk to his team and whoever else, and just be around and try and bring as much as I can before all the international press get there. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I can't wait for that. It's come around quick, hasn't it? I mean, it just seems like yesterday we're all having a whinge that it was so long out, and now we're only about 10 weeks. So Carl Hunter Hansen. G'day, Lynden. Sorry, mate, I missed it. So it's all good, mate. It's going to be on YouTube after this. If you've got any questions or comments you want to put in, I'll hang around for a little bit longer. And we'll just make it a little bit of an extended version of talking boxing. Caden Parasotto, thanks for coming on, mate. I'm not sure whether you've been on the show before, but thanks for joining in. Will you get to see Jake Paul fight Canelo in 2023? Caden, bite your tongue. I hope you're saying that with tongue in cheek, by the way. Will we get to see? Look, hey, who knows? We saw Conor McGregor fight Floyd Mayweather, but geez, I hope not. And I surely hope for Jake Paul's sake it doesn't happen. I mean, talking about a guy, by the way, even if he was interested, Canelo, I know he fights at 168, maybe 175. Jake Paul fights at, what's he fight at, 190 or 200 or whatever the hell it is. He probably walks around a little bit heavier than that. So, I don't know. I hope we don't see it. I really hope we don't see it, Caden. Look, if they did, I know it's all about money, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't want to see it. Boxing's just a big enough circus as it is now. I don't want it to get any worse. And I've just got a feeling, again, just my opinion, that Canelo, I won't say that like Floyd and all those sorts of guys that are doing it don't respect their legacy. I know they do 100%, but Canelo's the sort of guy I would think would not even subject himself to the possibility of any any feedback or what do you call it, harsh feedback about this fight. I mean, Mexicans are a little bit cut from a different cloth. A very, very proud nation, especially with boxing. I'm not sure that he would want to be seen in any other light by his fans, and I don't think the Mexican fans would really accept that at all. So yeah, it's just my opinion. But yeah, I hope you're taking the piss. But if you're not, let me know. Do you want to see it? Let me know. James, it was you. Yep, I respect your opinions. You wanted to voice mine. Thanks for that. Hey, mate, no drama. That's what we're here for. I've always said I might not agree with some people's views out there, opinions, but I'm always going to respect it. And as long as everyone keeps on the level and says it in a I won't say a good way, because you can disagree in a bad way, but everyone respects each other, and and you can say what you want to say, have your opinion. I don't care if people disagree with me. Yeah, just do it like you did there, and that's fine. But you guys are the people that make the show, so that's why I'll always respect anyone's opinions out there, whether you've been a boxer or not, whether you're 60 years old or whether you're 15 years old. Everyone's got an opinion. So, Carl, mate, great to have you back on. Keep the questions coming. Hey, mate, what's your thoughts on Harry Garside? Do you rate him? Yes, Carl, I 100% do. I'm not sure if you're an Aussie. I'm assuming with your crocodile eye there you are. You're based up north somewhere. Mate, 100% rate him. A very, very good fighter. The only issue I've got with Harry, I'm not going to say it's his punching power. I don't think, we've discussed that on the show before, that you don't necessarily have to be a massive puncher or a big puncher to be successful in boxing. So many great champions haven't been great fighters. The one thing I've got with him is the fact that his hands are giving him all sorts of dramas at a very early stage of his career. I know he's fought a couple of 10-rounders, I think. I only went 10 rounds once. He's been scheduled in 10-rounders. The fact that he's out long-term with hand injuries and he's not a big puncher, that's a little bit of a concern. Similar to Justice Honey, I suppose. But as far as a fighter, he could be anything. He's a very, very good boxer, good boxing IQ, great skills, great stamina. And as I said, I don't think he needs the power to succeed. He's a lightweight, remember. I've seen others that have done it. But as far as rating him, I think give him another 12 to 18 months, pending his injuries, of course. If he gets another 6, 7, 8 fights under his belt, I think you'll see him really in the mix for, amongst guys like Liam Wilson, Sam Goodman, those really good young guys. Paul Alcuso's another one I've got no doubt will be there as well. Justice Honey, of course. So many really, really good young fighters coming through. So, and he's with Johnny Lewis, of course. You can't be in much better hands than that. Another one from Carl. You're a massive Virgil Ortiz fan, yep. I can see him as a future world champion. What's your thoughts on my fanboys? There's nothing wrong with that, mate. We've all got our fanboys that we love, or we're all fanboys to the fighters that we love. Yeah, look, I probably won't go as far as to say I'm a fanboy of him, mate, but I really rate him. Was it him that was scheduled to fight? He's been mandated. Actually, I was going to put that as far as the in our talking points tonight with the fights that the WBC have ordered. Was that him, or have I got the wrong one? Might have. To fight Shakur Stevenson. But the other ones were Deontay Wilder against Andy Ruiz. There was Terence Crawford and... was it Crawford? No. Spence and Thurman was the other one. There was Tony Harrison and Fundora was the other one. And there might have been... But how many of those fights are actually going to happen? Who knows? We'll see. But what does it mean when you get mandated to fight? I mean, how many of them actually happen? The WBC can sit up there and puff the chest out and, Staniotis is petitioning for it at the moment. He's a WBA interim champion, I think, isn't he? Yeah, he is. So we'll see what happens there. Now, he was going to fight, he was petitioning to fight Spence as well, wasn't it? But so it'd be interesting to see what the WBA do now. WBC have mandated Spence and Thurman. Now what happens is he has to give up the WBA version. Does that cause dramas? Then the Crawford fight, does that then ever happen? Then if it's not for undisputed, who knows? Who knows? James, I don't like fans that bag a fighter who has fought before when they wouldn't fight those opponents. Hang on. I don't like the fans that bag who a fighter has fought before when they wouldn't fight those opponents themselves. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I agree. Look, there's a lot of things that frustrate me. I try and keep off a lot of the social media things after fights because I just know what's going to happen. I was intrigued about the Taylor Robinson one on Saturday night because I watched it when I can't believe she won that. I wanted to see other people's opinions and I think 95% of people were with me. And that's no disrespect to Taylor, of course. I think she's she's a great young fighter. I think I had her at number 6, I think, in my overall pound-for-pound women's ratings. I think she's a future, well, I won't say she's a future world champion, definitely a future world title challenger. And then, of course, the rest is up to her. But I'm with you, mate. There's lots of things that piss me off when I look at the way people talk about fighters. And I must admit, I'm just from the old school. I don't care. I've said this many times. I don't care whether you get knocked out in the first round or you're a Roy Jones Jr. I know what it takes to get in there. I know the courage that it takes just to step through the ropes and the preparation that goes into it. So you'll never hear me say a bad thing about any fighter, even the Jake Pauls of the world, as far as the fighting goes. You might hear me say something about Jake Paul about the situation and where he falls in the scheme of things, but as far as a fighter goes, he's got my full respect, just like any of them do. Jackie, what do you got there, mate? Did Andy get mandated by the WBC? Is that which Andy? Is not Ruiz, or is that Maloney? I'm assuming he was at the WBO convention, wasn't he? I didn't see anything about that. Jack, you might be able to fill me in. I'd sort of follow all their social media accounts to sort of see what's going on. I know Jason's number 1 with the WBC and WBO, so he'll get a world title pretty soon. But I know Andy was petitioning with the WBO, but the WBO, he's fighting, that's the Japanese, Aoka, I think it is. He's fighting Franco, who's obviously fought Andy 3 times. They're fighting for those titles. And then you've got who is it? Estrada and Chocolatito fighting for the IBF and WBC, I think it is. So maybe he gets a winner. I'd rather see him on that side. I want to see Andy fight the winner of Estrada and Chocolatito. I've said it. Now, there might be some people out there who think that's a joke. I would love to see Andy fight those guys. I don't want to see him go the other way. The Franco thing, that's done now. Look, the Japanese guy, Aoka, I think his name is, I think that would be a good fight for him, but geez, wouldn't it be great for Andy to get his teeth into a Estrada or a Chocolatito, regardless of what people think might happen? Jason had, is it Inouye or Inoue, however you want to pronounce it, I pronounce it Inoue, whatever. Jason had him, he might be fighting Donaire. I want to see Andy get one of those really, tough super flyweights. I would love to see it. I think it's the type of fight he would get up for. So we'll see what happens there. Dempsey McKean, Justice Honey, will it happen? Yeah, I think at some stage, mate. I think as long as the only issue I will say with that, and money always talks, is that you've got Dempsey's with Ace Boxing, Justice's with D&L. I know there was some friction there. But like in anything, when there's lots, what do they say? If it makes dollars, it makes sense. I'm assuming that like Dean's been around the block. He's promoted obviously Jeff Horn, Pacquiao, and all these, Opataya and all these guys as well. And also obviously Joseph Parker, Dempsey McKean, same with Ace Boxing. I think it will happen eventually, but we might have a bit of a stalemate at some stage. Who's the A side, who's the B side, who gets the money, all that sort of stuff. But I'm sure it'll work out because at the end of the day, these guys are businessmen. Lots of money to be made in the heavyweight division, even in Australia. So I think it will happen, but it might be a couple of years away, if not 3 years, I reckon. I think obviously Dempsey's with not only Ace but also with Eddie Hearn. So I've got a feeling that they want to probably steer Dempsey to maybe Anthony Joshua or one of those types of guys. They have spoken about a fight at the Gabba. And if they're going to put a fight on at the Gabba, they're going to need an Anthony Joshua type of opponent to put him in with. The Shizoras and Dillian Whites of the world ain't going to cut it. It's going to have to be someone like a Joshua. And if what they're talking about with the World Tour happens, then how good would that be? And Justice, well, he's on a different trajectory at the moment. Trajectory, I will say, if I can spit that out. Trajectory. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think it will happen at some stage. Paul, thanks for joining in, mate. Paul Camilleri. Hi, Lynden. How good for Jeff Fennick to get recognised for the WBC with his 4th world title? I know it's been 30 years, but great nonetheless. What's your thoughts? I did talk about this a little bit earlier, Paul, in the talking points with Tassie. So to clarify it, he wasn't officially recognised as, like, the result wasn't overturned. So I just said before, sanctioning bodies don't have the ability to overturn a result. The boxing authority has to do that, and they haven't, because as Jack said before, the can of worms that would open up would just be ridiculous. We'd be reviewing 200 fights if that was the case. It's really just a gesture from the WBC to say, hey, you're a man, and we think you won the fight, so we're going to recognise you as the winner. But the official result has not been changed. The belt has not been taken off Nelson and given to Fennick. It's really just a gesture to say that, Jeff, you are, in our eyes, a 4-time world champion. That's all it is. But it's great nonetheless. And we said before, great for a little bit of peace of mind for Jeff. I know it's not the whole thing about getting it reversed, but the fact that this gesture has been put out there by the WBC, I think it'll give him a little bit of peace of mind and help him sleep a little bit easier at night, because I think we're all in agreement here that Jeff was never the same after that. I watched the second fight about a week or two ago, and the difference between Jeff from the first fight to the second fight, it is miles apart. It just wasn't the same fight. It was as simple as that. And then, of course, Calvin Grove probably danced on his grave a little bit as far as his career goes, and then it was just Philip Holiday just put the full stop on it. So it's a shame, but look, for Jeff, everyone that's met Jeff out there is a great guy, and this would have meant a hell of a lot to him to be the centre of attention over there and have Chavez and Cotto and all the other guys there to present him with the belt. I think it was great. But Jack, Andy Maloney, okay. I think it's the fight Pedro Guevara in an eliminator, and then the winner of the fight, Chocolatito Estrada. Okay, I didn't see that, Jack. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. If it would come out today, I wouldn't have seen it. I've been in the car most of the day out and about, so I didn't see it. But yeah, that would be great. As I said, mate, I would love to see Andy. I reckon, knowing Andy as well, he would want Estrada, Chocolatito. I keep going back over some things, but I've mentioned it on this show a few times. If you haven't watched it for a long time, I used to promote both boys back in the day. For 3 years, I think I promoted them. I think it was about 9 or 10 fights I promoted for the boys. And I remember sitting with Andy and Jason at the super flyweight show in Las Vegas, Vegas, in Carson, California, at the StubHub Center. And I distinctly remember sitting beside Andy when Chocolatito got knocked out by the Thai. And Estrada might have fought on the undercard as well. And I remember saying to him, you're here sitting ringside, you're watching these superflies go at it. It was a massive card. They were all super flyweight fights. I think it was the second one. So Chocolatito got knocked out by the Thai, Estrada, or was it Quadro? One of those, or Quadros, sorry. But I remember saying to him, what are your thoughts? He said, sitting here at ringside, I can see these guys are human. When you watch them on TV and all the lights and all the razzmatazz, it's a bit different to see them in person. He said, I can beat these guys. I can beat them. So he might get his wish. And I remember the same night, Jason, we saw in a way, or Inui, however you want to pronounce it, at the fights as well. He wasn't fighting, of course. His brother was there as well. I'm not sure whether he fought or was just there, but he was there. And Jason, I remember picking him out, saying he was such a fan of his and everything else. He ended up sharing the ring with him a couple of years later. So it's amazing what can happen in this sport. So I would hope that Andy gets a shot. He beats this Guevara and fights a winner of that. I think that would be awesome. Carl, great. Really appreciate the comments coming through here, guys. I'll stay on here as long as you keep throwing questions at me. I've got nothing else to do. One thing I love about Aussie boxers, they don't fear having an L on the record. Well, that's most of them, Carl, I think. I think they do. But one thing about Aussies you will find, as far as that goes, none of them are scared to go overseas to chase their dreams. They'll do it. And Eddie Hearn actually made an interesting point a few weeks back. He said more Aussie boxers should stay here more often. You've got the home ground advantage. You've got the good promoters here with the money to bring them out. Why go overseas? Because I think it's always been in our mindset to strike it big. You got to go overseas. I know Jeff Fennick did it here, and the Jeff Hardings and Jeff Barry Michaels, Lester Ellis, all those guys, the Jeff Horns, all sort of did it in Australia. But he said, why not? Why go overseas when you don't have to? But Costa Zoo did it, even though James don't want to stir the pot here about being an Aussie, but he went overseas and did it. Danny Green and Anthony Mundine stayed here. But I think more and more you've seen the guys. I think it's just a little bit of that badge of honour to say I went over there and I'm going to get the win overseas. So, it's Aussie fighters, mate. They're respected all over the world. No matter where you go, people love Aussie boxers. And you've just got to go over and see the way they talk about Jeff Fennick and Jeff Harding and all those types of guys. It's amazing. Even Jeff Horn gets a little bit of love, which is unusual. Dempsey versus Otto Wallen. Yeah, well, I know they've talked about that, mate. It'll be interesting to see what that happens. I think that's a fight Dempsey can win. I think he can definitely win that. Whether or not they want to risk Dempsey if the Joshua fight is in the works as maybe been a potential fight for Australia, they're not going to want to risk that sort of money, so maybe they'll play it safe. But that's a really good fight. Maybe Dempsey goes to England and fights him over there. Who knows? Carl again. Can't wait for Tim to have a chop at Mal. I think he's going to go all right. Is that Jarmel, I'm assuming? Mate, look, the thing is, Aussies, we know our fighters. Maybe we tend to overrate them sometimes. We have had egg on our faces a little while. But when a Jeff Fennick went to America, when Jeff Harding went to America, probably not so much Jeff Horn. I don't think there was many people expecting him to beat Crawford. But when even the Danny Greens and Anthony Mundines and all those fighters have been overseas, obviously especially Costa, we know what we've got. And I think when it comes to this, sometimes and the Americans don't know what they're dealing with either. And I've got a feeling here, judging by what I'm reading and that on social media and on the websites, or the fight sites, all that sort of stuff, I don't think there's many that give Tim a chance at all. I think they see him as easy picking for Jamel. I would say to him, underestimate Tim at your peril, because Tim is going to win. He's obviously from great pedigree. He's got a great team behind him, and he's going there to win. He's not going there just to fight for it. He's going to win it. So who knows? I've just got a feeling Jamel Charlo is underrated Tim, and I would hope for his sake that he doesn't, because Tim, as I said, he's going there to take those belts. So should be great. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, look, I would have liked maybe the WBC to clarify it as well, to say that when this doesn't actually overturn the result, it just gives Jeff, that gesture of the title. So, it's an interesting one, but I don't think you're ever going to see a boxing combat board or body or authority, whatever it is, actually overturn a result, especially 30 years after the fact. I wouldn't have thought. So, I mean, the WBC did a thing. You remember, you would all seen the movie The Hurricane with Reuben Hurricane Carter. They actually did it with him back in the day when he got out of jail. They actually presented him with the WBC World Middleweight title bout because he got ripped off when he fought for the title. I think, was it against Emil Griffith? I can't remember whether it was him. He got ripped off in people's eyes, and he was denied the belt. I don't think it was a draw, or it might have been a draw, but either way, it was either a loss or a draw. He didn't win it. Most people thought he won it, so the WBC retrospectively handed him a WBC belt as the world middleweight champion, but it didn't change the result or anything. Again, like this, it's a gesture to say, hey, we think you won and you're a champion in our eyes. So I think Andy Cruz will give the lightweight division a shake-up in 2 years. You haven't seen a lot of him, Carl, Andy Cruz. I'm just trying to think. I haven't really seen any of him, to be honest. Clarify who he is. Obviously, he's a young up-and-comer. Let me just have a look. I'll bring him up on my screen, because I must admit, mate, forgive my ignorance, I don't know anything about him. I'm going to bring him up on BoxRec as we're speaking. As we go. All right, let's have a look. Andy Cruz. Let's have a look. So he is... where are we? So... Just clarify, it's his name, Carl, Andy Cruz. Because he's not, you'll have to clarify that for me. Anyone else there, clarify, because I must admit I don't know anything about him. James, you're in Texas. That's the boxing learner. You're in Texas, Charlo territory. I think Tim Tszyu has a chance against. Yeah, well, what do you think, boxing learner? What do you think? Has Tim got a chance? Do you know much about Tim? Do you think he's got a chance at your boy? Because us Aussies have no doubt, and you'll probably see an army of Aussies over there at the end of January. He's very, very popular in Australia, just like his father was, and just prepare for the Aussie wave, we'll call it. It's going to come and take over the MGM Grand, because they're going to be there in force. He's got a massive fan base, as I said, and they'll all be there. So look out for that one. But yeah, boxing learner, do you give Charlo a chance? Lynden, can Liam Parra give the 140-pounder division a bit of what for? Yeah, no, 100% he can. I think he showed that he's got the tools. I wouldn't probably say that the Brock Jarvis win, solidified the fact he's world class. Brock's still pretty green. Excuse me. But absolutely, I think he's another one that if he gets the right shot at it, it's a little bit frustrating for him, because I know he was lined up to fight Josh Taylor for the WBO. Well, he's number one with the WBO, but as far as the mixed fight, Josh Taylor, of course, He's now fighting Catrell, so that's a bit different. Then you got Teofimo Lopez is throwing his hat in the ring, has almost leapfrogged Liam Paro as far as the importance goes. But I think I've got no dramas if Liam Paro waits another 12 months and gets another 2 or 3 fights under his belt before he gives it a red hot go. I don't think it can hurt him as long as they're not killers. As long as they're just guys to give him rounds. Maybe he fights a puncher, not a puncher. Maybe he fights an aggressive fighter. Maybe he fights a boxer. Maybe he fights a southpaw in there. Just mix it up a little bit, just to make him a little bit more prepared for when he actually gets a shot. But yes, he can definitely shake up the 140-pound division. He can fight. Jeff Harding was a killer. I loved his style of fighting. Yeah, the only problem with Jeff, though, Carl, he probably led with his face a bit too much. But just one of those guys who just milked every little bit of ability out of himself. He wasn't the most talented fighter, probably like a Jeff Horn, those types of guys. Danny Green, I will say as well, not the most talented or gifted fighters, but they make up for it so much with the work ethic, their heart, their conditioning, and maybe the killer instinct. But Jeff Harding's one of my all-time favourites, and I still remember that fight with Dennis Andrews 33 years ago, yeah, it was. Still remember it like it was yesterday when he beat Harding to win the title. That was just unbelievable. So I'm hearing you, mate. He's also got his old man in his corner for the first time since his first fight. That's who are we talking about there, Carl? Sorry, I might have jumped ahead there. Gold medalist Cuban. Okay, yep, now I know the one you're talking about. Andy. Yeah, no, you are right. I was looking for a Spanish type of name. Andy Cruz. No, is that? Hang on, I might have the wrong one. So he's an amateur, 140 wins, 9 losses. Does that sound about right? He did lose, saying here, maybe that's his amateur career, is it? Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it is. Okay. Andy Cruz. So he hasn't actually turned pro yet, mate. Sorry, that's probably why I've never heard of him. But like all Cubans, mate, they can fight. No doubt about that. Okay, so he won the gold medal. Oh, okay, that's him, is it? He beat Harry. That was him. I knew obviously he lost to a Cuban. Yeah, I don't know, Carl. I don't know. Look, all Cubans are good fighters, of course. I remember thinking it was awkward. I'm not quite sure his style will translate into the pros. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I was impressed, but I won't say I looked at him and went, oh, wow, this guy is a superstar. But, yeah, I don't know. But, look, he can obviously definitely fight. There's no doubt about that. And I'm assuming he's going to be turning pro now, I would think. So, we'll see. We'll see. But, yeah, so it says here on BoxRec 140 wins and 9 losses. And 9 KO. So, obviously not a big puncher. But these BoxRec things for the amateurs can be all over the place. They don't record them all. And how can they? I don't think the amateur results really were accurate until the last few years or last couple of years, I don't think. So, because I don't think that up until recently they actually had amateur results on there. But anyway, so that's that one. All right, guys. Well, that's it for me then. Doesn't look like anyone else has got any more questions for me. I'll see you all on Monday night for Talking Boxing. It looks like we're going to have Shannon O'Connell on the show, so tune in if you've got a question or a comment or whatever you want to throw at her. She'll be going through a little bit of the lead up to a fight with Ebony Bridges, of course, and she'll also just be going through the usual boxing news with me and giving her opinion on different things. We have got a question there from Carl before I go. Who's the one Aussie you think can go the distance to become a world champion? Well, I think we've got a few. If we're going to say one, apart from Tim, that's probably the easiest one. I would think, you made it tough on me. If I've got to pick one, I'll have to look at my top 10 at some stage. But look, I think there's a Liam Wilson, there's a Sam Goodman could all fight for world titles. Whether they're good enough to win is a different possibility for each of them. I think Justice Honey can. I think he definitely can. Whether he's big enough and obviously got the punching power, who knows? But look, there's so many. If I've got to put my eggs in the one basket, I'm going to say Liam Paro. Okay, take out the obvious one in Tim Tszyu. I'm going to say Liam Paro. I know I'm cherry picking, but I'm going to say Liam Paro can become a world champion, no doubt. And Justice Honey right up there as well, if he can keep his hands in one piece. So, all right, guys, as I said, I'll be back Monday, hopefully with Shannon O'Connell in here. Shannon O'Connell, if you've got a question for her, just put it in there on Monday night. And as I said, she'll go through all the latest boxing news and preview a fight with Ebony, and should be a good time. So thanks again for joining in, guys. Really appreciate it. Remember to like, subscribe, share, all those fun things, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.